and it's a pleasure to be with you all here this evening. Welcome, and I want to begin by just acknowledging how difficult the last few years have been, I think particularly for workers. And one thing that I keep reflecting on again and again is how important trade unionism is for us to be able to tackle the injustices that we continue to face. I really believe growing up in the area that I did, it really unlocked and provided ways in which I could make sure that I could see my rights realised. And growing up, it wasn't easy. I remember my father's generation growing up, working in the factories, working in the restaurants, and they didn't always have access to those rights. They were self-organising among the communities. But when I came along, and my generation came along, we were able to join the dots in a different way. And I still remember my first experience of contacting my local trade union branch and understanding the situation that I was facing in the workplace. And then that started that journey of really understanding trade unionism. And I went on courses, and I went to political schools. And now here I am, many, many years later, representing the area that I grew up in, where I've worked, where I've studied. And I think that's just a microcosm, a small example of what can be achieved through political education and through education of trade unionism itself. We are here today on a day which is one of the days of Women's History Month. And again, I think I look back at the rich history of women struggling for their rights, for their political rights, and for their rights as workers. And again, I'm really proud to look back at that history and recognise and see the many figures such as Sylvia Pankhurst who fought and who paved the way for working class women to have their rights realised. I think there's so much to learn from that history, and I think that's why trusts like this are so, so important in terms of the future that we want to see. The future that we want to see where we all can benefit from supporting one another, from having equality and from having justice as well. And so I know the last few years have been very difficult. I know that it's meant a lot of us have had to take strike action, but it's meant that it's also opened up, and it's opened up conversation, it's opened up doors of being able to discuss things in a different way. I've lost count of how many young people I've met in the last few years that asked me questions about trade unionism. What is a trade unionism? I think last year, the year before, it was one of the top Google searches of the year. So things are changing with every government policy, with everything that is being passed, and we know that there are certain measures and policies being passed which are affecting our rights as workers. There is a response to that, and the workers are rising. And I think that education is so, so important at this point in time and going forward. I'm not going to do the ad that Richard did, but I hope that you'll all consider how you can support these initiatives going forward. Courses such as Women in Leadership, building the next generation of leaders in the trade union movement is absolutely crucial, but we can lay down the seeds today to see that fruitful future. Thank you so much. Solidarity.